our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. All right. Now see, I caught you out. You really love Jesus. Yeah, let me give you that warning. I don't know how many, are the guys at the top able to see me? I know the structure. You know, it's funny how we always pray and we say, Lord, help us not to see the preacher, let us hear you. And then you go and invite a short preacher. Trying to make your prayers come true. Okay, I've got 3 minutes just to make a few these announcements. The first one is that we've been having these meetings since Sunday, and I'm sure that there are things that one says or explains from the Bible which maybe one doesn't do justice in explaining, and you might miss a few things and think I'm saying something that I'm not saying. So if you've got any questions, you feel that what I said maybe unsettles what you've always believed in, and so you'd like to have a follow-up questions because you think what has been said has implications on something else. So can you just jot them down? And is there a box at the back there? Yeah. Okay, I think there it is. There it is at the back there. That's the box for. It's not the prayer box, right? Oh. Okay, so he wants to put the questions in the prayer box. So hopefully we'll pray for your questions and not answer. Okay, so there's okay, yeah, the box will be provided. Can you say, wave so that they'll. We all know Kosazana, right? No, Kosazana, please stand there. Not everyone knows you. Okay, now you know her. So please just give them to her and then she'll hand them over to me. So at the end of the service, hand them over to her. I'm not going to answer the question right, like today. I'll give you the question today and answer it. I think it deserves respect for me to sit down and study it as well and prepare for your question. It's not always a given that I'll have an answer for you. Sometimes some of the questions you ask are really just God's mission for you to dig deeper for yourself and find it. And no, I'm serious. Sometimes God gives you a question, not so that you can ask someone else about it, but just so that it becomes your mission to find an answer to it. All right. But don't ask too many questions. You know, more questions you ask, the less questions you have, because the more you ask, the more you learn. And so the more you ask, the more you know, and the less you have to ask. So the less you learn, ultimately. So not too many questions, okay. The second one is that if there's anyone who would like to see me, I don't know, for whatever reason, just want to chat, whatever, I'm available during the day. I'd say from 10 up till 2. Yeah, between 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. I'm available between those times. I think tomorrow we're supposed to go to the library, have a look at the library. But between 10 and 2 p.m. I'll be available. So if you need to chat to me, again, speak to Nkosazana. She's my designated PA. I'm kidding. She's the lady who will manage the appointment book. So if you're gonna chat, just have a chat. You don't have to make me laugh or have a you don't need to construct a problem in order to talk to me. Just talk. Okay. Let's chat. Okay. So you don't say, hey, I don't have issues, and then you start generating problems so that you can talk to the pastor. Just even if you do have something that you want to talk about and get off your chest, it's cool. I'm leaving in 2 weeks' time, so whatever you say leaves with me. Okay, it doesn't stay here. So if you feel comfortable doing that, please feel free to do that. All right. Oh wow, there we go. It's 7 o'clock. So today we're going to talk about. I don't know. You said yesterday at the end of the service that we were supposed to talk about faith, but we can't talk about faith without having spoken about prayer. So we need to talk about prayer. And again, we've got to be very iconoclastic when we're talking about prayer. There are a lot of things that we have in our minds and understanding and conceptions of prayer that we have, which need to be knocked down. So we need to knock down those icons of faith that we have constructed or have been taught about prayer. And maybe let's look at a very biblical approach to prayer. And I said yesterday, prematurely again, which I'm going to emphasize today, that you see, I said, if you remember, that you can't be complimented for having your prayers answered. Like, an answered prayer cannot be a compliment to your faith. All right? Because I mean, I've never seen someone, and say again, never seen someone who comes to me and says, can I borrow some money? And when I give them the money, they say, yeah. You know, like, it just never happens, you know. I asked without ceasing. I wrestled with him. He didn't want to give me the money. And I persuaded him. I pursued him until he gave me the money. You know, when you've done that, when you've given someone money, when you've received something, the compliment always goes to the giver, not to the one who receives, as a compliment of the ability to ask. Okay, it's always the generosity of the giver. So your answered prayer is not an indication of the strength of your prayer. Now, no, we've got these nice phrases where we say more prayer, more power. And again, we need to break that down, what that means. Okay, it doesn't mean what you think it means. That when you pray more, then you'll have more power to move mountains. Okay, we'll talk about it again as we go along. So the more you pray, that's true, the more power you have. But the power you have is not to influence external factors or external things. But the more power you have is to defeat the demons within. That's what prayer does. It gives you the ability to defeat your inner demons. Okay, and I know many of you are afraid of that language. I don't have demons. You do. So you want to pray so that the most important thing that needs to change is you, okay, not your problems. Because when Jesus comes again, we'll talk about it later on. When Jesus comes again, he's not coming to take your problems. You don't need to baptize your problems in prayer. So your prayers are not going to be saved. You're going to be saved. So it doesn't make sense for God to give you something that baptizes your problems and leaves you unchanged. So then then you pray and your problems change. You remain unchanged, as if it's your problems that are going to heaven. Alright, so when God gives you prayer, He's not giving it to you so that you can change your external external problems or factors, but it's so that prayer must change you. Prayer must change you. And of course, let's get into it. I'll jump around from verse to verse because we're doing a systematic study of prayer. It's all over the Bible. And what we need to keep in mind is that not every verse that has the word pray is talking or addressing the subject of prayer. That's a biblical principle. Okay, not every verse that has the word pray means it's talking about prayer. Sometimes we take circumstantial mentions and we make them doctrinal conclusions. All right, we make doctrinal conclusions from circumstantial evidence. All right, so someone says Jesus went down or the man went down from Jericho. Oh, it was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho. Then we want to build a doctrine around that because he got beaten up. You must never go down. Never go down. So then what do? We erect pulpits at the top there and make the pastor stand high. Why? Because you must never go down. Get beaten up. But I'm glad you don't possess that. I'm the lowest man in the room. And by the way, can I share this with you? Can I just say this? Can I just say this to you? It is the people that are given the most spiritual responsibilities are not necessarily the strongest spiritually. They actually tend to be the weakest amongst us. And God gives us spiritual assignments to protect us from our moral weaknesses. At times you're not saved, at times the mission you're given saves you from yourself. I remember I was driving once, and this taxi driver, you know how they do? Okay, right in front of me, and he acts like I'm not even there. And I'm like, oh, what's this guy doing? And I boil up inside, the same thing. So and I don't know why, because he's just driven. It doesn't change the price of bread, nothing. It's just it. That's it. But I got angry. I felt like he was. So I then you justify your anger. He's going to injure me. What if he had thing in my car and whatever? So I then followed him. Alright, so I followed him. So I followed this taxi driver. Follow him around. Follow him. Hey, I think you can see that I'm running after him. I'm chasing after him. And I was driving my wife's car. It's a bit faster than mine. So I'm chasing after this guy. Around the traffic light. Hey! And then as we approach the traffic lights, he takes the empty lane. Because I thought I'd get the empty lane. He approaches, and then the lane I was on, there was a car. But I don't know, by providence, the car that was going to be on this other lane takes off. Alright, as the traffic light was turning amber and it was about to turn red. This guy crosses the road, and then the lane next to the driver was empty. So I come and I park next to him. Right there, cars are like this. Okay, my car and his taxi. And then I figured it out all in my head, right? What I'm going to do, what I'm going to say to him. Like, it was all here. I rehearsed it carefully as I'm chasing him. I'm rehearsing it in my head. And then I was ready to press the window down, you know. And I was going to greet him. I was going to use a hand gesture to greet him first. And I was about to press the window down, and then I remembered, what if they are members of my church? What if they're members of my church in that taxi? You know what? There was no self-control. Like, I lost all self-control. There was absolutely nothing within me, that was stopping me from swearing at him. That's what I'm going to say. I was going to swear at him. There was absolutely nothing. I decided, I even rehearsed it in my head over and over again, what exactly I was going to say to him. I was going to give it to him in English and in Zulu. I was ready, guys. Except for that last thought. Do you know what saved me from ruining that man's day? That's my calling, that's it. And at times, what saves us is not necessarily our ability to restrain. It's not that self-restraint that we have. There are times when it is all gone, and the only thing that saves you is the mission that God has given you. And that's it. I don't know how we got there, but I just thought I'll make that point. Right, so let's get into prayer. Matthew chapter 6. And in some places, I'll also preach on the same Sunday using, if you want to write your verses down, and because we'll make references to them, using Daniel chapter 6. We'll also visit Daniel chapter 6, I think, on Friday, when we talk about excellence, what we owe God. That's what we owe God. We owe God nothing less than your best, nothing less than excellence. And when I talk about that, I'm not talking about what you give to God, but the way you manage your life needs to be excellent. Okay? Otherwise, if you're not excellent, you're going to die in mediocrity and then die for being mediocre. Right, so we go to Matthew chapter 6. Verses tend to disappear. Right, so if you also want Daniel chapter 6, again, Matthew chapter 6, Daniel chapter 6, read that whole chapter. It's a beautiful take on prayer. Luke chapter 23. Luke chapter 23, I think it's from verse 38, if I'm not mistaken. The two thieves on the cross with Christ. Luke 23 is also a very beautiful lesson on prayer. And we'll make references to that again today. And let me just find this. Can someone just find the transfiguration of Christ? You know the transfiguration, right? In the Mount of Olives. I think it's in Matthew. Yes, Matthew chapter 17. Yeah, okay. All right. So yeah, Matthew chapter 17. If we don't get there, we'll make references to those verses. Okay, let's pray. Let's pray together. So once again, dear Father, we are about to open your word. We dare not do so without your guidance and the assurance of your presence. So we ask, dear Father, for your Holy Spirit to move from this pulpit to the pews, dear Father, ensuring both the lucid communication of your word and its clear reception, dear Father. We don't want to be confused by many words that are spoken by the preacher, but we also, dear Father, don't want to be confused by our own prejudices in hearing what you have to say to us, dear Lord. Help us to have a willing suspension of our beliefs, dear Father, just so that we can meet you as you are and not try to find you confirming what we already believed in. We all pray for these things, dear Father, not because we are worthy, but we ask them in the mighty and wonderful name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Right. So, Matthew chapter 6 involves that beautiful passage on what's this, Jesus on the Mount, the sermons, a series of sermons that he delivered on the Mount. So if you read Matthew chapter 6, the first one he says, but you, verse 6, but you, when you pray, go into your room, and when you have shut your door, pray to your Father who is in the secret place, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. And when you pray, do not use, vain repetitions as the heathen do, for they think that they will be heard for their many words. Therefore do not be like them, for your Father knows the things you have need of before you even ask him. All right. And then he says, pray. when you pray, pray in this manner, therefore. And when you read that prayer, or what is called the Lord's Prayer, when you read that prayer, have you ever noticed the language that is in there? The one who prays uses, what's this, a plural pronoun? Yeah? Yeah, plural pronouns. Plural pronoun. So it's intercessory prayer. And that's the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven. And when you pray this prayer, you're not praying and you're not presenting yourself to God, but you're presenting everyone around you, presenting the community, all right, in prayer. So prayers are not a moment of selfish confessions to God, make the selfish petitions to God. If you don't approach God with your problems alone, you approach God with the problems and the concerns of the community. All right, so when you pray, you don't pray alone. And of course, they say that it's the Lord's Prayer. And then when we analyze the Lord's Prayer again, let's just briefly analyze it. It says, Our Father in heaven, line 1, line 2, hallowed be your name, line 3, your kingdom come, 4, your will be done. On earth as it is in heaven, give us this day our daily bread. Verse 11, all right, so that's line 6. And forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Line 6 and 7, and then 8. And do not lead us into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For yours is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Right. Now, have you noticed? Do you notice something about this prayer? Of course, we're analyzing it. Did you notice something? It starts with praise, right? And acknowledging the greatness of God. And that's about 5 lines of that. 5 lines of the prayer are about acknowledging the greatness of God. And then 3 lines about our requests. Just 3 lines are requests. All right? 1, verse 8. Because your Father knows what you have need of before you even ask Him. So you don't spend the majority of your prayer telling God what He already knows. All right. So you don't. So again, if you read the prayer, there are no repetitions because you're not talking to a deaf God. All right. You're not only talking to a God who already knows what you're going through, but you're also talking to a God who can hear. So there's no need for you to repeat. And of course, he recalls the story that happens in the book of 2 Kings with Elijah and the prophets of Baal. Do you remember? When they prayed the whole day to Baal, hear us, O Baal, and they kept repeating the same thing over and over again. And Elijah was taunting them and he said, oh, pray harder, maybe he's gone on holiday. Pray harder, maybe he can't. I didn't even know they had holidays at the time, but pray harder. You know, maybe he can't hear you. Maybe he's just busy in the loo. Pray, pray, pray. And these guys prayed the whole day praying to Baal. Elijah stands up, and I promise you, he doesn't spend more than 3 seconds talking to God. And the answer is delivered. Why? Because he's not talking to a deaf God. He's not going to keep repeating the same thing over and over again. In fact, God already knows why Elijah is there and what he's going to ask him. So why must Elijah spend the majority of the prayer telling God what he already knows? At times, we must admit that our prayers have less to do with God and more to do with our selfish desires. We don't pray so that we can commune with God. We pray so that we can feel better that we've told Him. Yes. At least now I told Him. All right. But you don't realize that you're telling Him and what you seek in prayer actually does the very opposite of, or it does God an injustice. That if your God must be told what you're going through, then He does not deserve to be called God. As a God, what's this word? Alright. As a God, He is supposed to, or by implication, right? Is that what I was looking for? Yeah? No. Definition? Let's say implication. Definition, implication. As a God, He's supposed to know more about your life than you do. He's supposed to be 3 problems ahead of you. That when you encounter the problem you're going through, He's supposed to be dealing with the solution to the problem you're going to encounter 5 years from now. He is not supposed to be getting informed about your current problems. He's supposed to have long dealt with it, and that's what makes Him God. Now, how then do you tell someone who's already prepared the problem 10 years ago, the solution to the problem you're going through right now? He's already prepared it, but you're still telling him about the problem. Hello. So at times we must admit that our prayers are not necessarily about communicating and communing with God and erecting a tabernacle. Someone once said that God promises us eternal time with Him. But before we get to Him, He plants the eternal time on every 7th day. Alright, so every 7 days He plants eternity in time. so that on the 7th day we experience eternity within time. And then over and above that, then he sprinkles opportunities to visit eternity when we tabernacle with him in prayer. And that is why one of my favorite writers, okay, she's not really a favorite of mine, but one of the writers that influences me a lot, that is why she would write and say that prayer does not take us up into the presence of God. Prayer does not bring God down to our circumstances, but prayer takes us up into the presence of God. In prayer, we are not bringing God down to our problems, but in prayer, God brings us up into his presence. Prayer is a temporary visit into the presence of God. And that is why, therefore, that if prayer was to be a temporary visit into the presence of God, the hardest word that you could ever utter in prayer are not when you talk about your problems, but the hardest word to utter, if you really enjoyed the presence of God in prayer, the hardest word you'll ever utter is the word amen. Because it indicates an end of your time in the presence of God. But here's how we know that we have not really fully experienced the joy of prayer. It is that whenever we pray, there's the one word we look forward to, is the very word that will end the purpose of what we're doing. Have you ever sat in church and someone, especially us Adventists, because only one person prays. And I know some of our churches, we all pray. And then there's always that one lady. You don't know what she's been doing the whole time we've been praying. And then just at the end of the prayer, then she bellows. And she comes up. In fact, just as we are all ending, she gets louder and louder and louder and louder and louder and louder. And then she goes on and on and on and on. And we all have to keep quiet and listen to her while she's praying. All right. And then you hear her voice peter off and dying. And you're okay, she's ending. And then she says, another thing, Father. Is this ever going to end? In fact, we have become so accustomed to looking forward to the word amen that we have even learned to gauge when prayers will end. And that's an indication, that's a direct indication that we have not really discovered the joy of prayer. You see, prayer is supposed to be something that you get into, but never look forward in getting out of. Are you with me? But at this time, we're still struggling. Now, like I know, I'm talking to you and I'm way ahead of what we're really struggling with when it comes to prayer. Like, we're still struggling just to pray. Like, okay, maybe I'm a bit presumptuous here. We're not struggling to pray. We're struggling to remember to pray. Just remembering. On your way to your lectures, and you remember, hey, I'm going to a very hard lecture, I might fail this thing. And then that anxiety of the inevitable that awaits you, then causes you to pray. And so you begin to pray. But what you're praying about is not really praying, because you have absolutely nothing to say to God unless you've got problems. I bought a shoe, right? I bought a shoe on a pastor's budget. Okay, let me rephrase this. I know that pastors have this thing that, I saw very funny. Okay, I'm getting distracted. So I bought a shoe. Okay, on an Adventist pastor's budget. Okay, so I bought this shoe. It was a nice shoe. I thought it was nice because when I put it on, I felt, yeah. And it looked good. I wore it for a couple of years. I'm the kind of guy who doesn't have a lot of shoes for different occasions. I've got one shoe. And that's the shoe I'm going to wear. And I buy a shoe that goes with everything I have. All right. So that's the shoe. All right. So I bought that shoe. Okay. And in case I don't have enough covered space for my shoes. My wife takes all of that out. So I bought the shoe and I wore it for years, years. It was not because it was an expensive shoe or a quality shoe, but I think God kept it together, for me. For 40 years, never grew old. It was there. So I wore it, and then at the end, then the shoe, the top part of the shoe. And I was on my way to church. When you're late, the worst things happen when you're late. So there I am, walking to church. The elders are calling me in the vestry. He said, when they come, they're waiting for them. As I run in, the shoe separates. It starts just talking. Of course, I spent the majority of the sermon behind the pulpit. I never came around, so I just sat stood behind him. So then I go to the cobbler and I tell him, hey, look, man, my shoe, the sister says, oh, okay, no, the glue dried up. That's why the sole separated from the rest of the shoe. I'll just put a bit of glue and it will, it'll be back to normal again. He says, so I said, oh, so what keeps the two together is just the glue. He says, yeah, and once the glue dries up, then it's separate. So then he says, next time it happens, just bring it back. So we put the glue there, and so that's what keeps the shoe. That's what keeps the shoe together. And I got a lesson on prayer right there and then. That at times, not at times, our prayer lives are structured like this. Our prayer lives are like this. God becomes the top part of the shoe. We're like the sole, all right. And our problems are the glue. They stick us to God. But the moment the problems dry up, we separate from God. And we only ever go see God when we run out of glue. And so we only see God. What keeps us together is if the glue is not dry. So the problems are gone, you're gone as well. Because and someone says to me, you know what, Pastor? Our prayer lives are nothing but righteous gossip. All we ever do when we're praying is not praying, we're just gossiping about the devil. It's after me. And I like it in this course. So, but there you are. You're calling him down, but you're down like in your prayer. But you're calling him down. He's found a place in your prayer. And I always say this, and I always say, in my active preacher's imagination, I always say, there you are. The devil has been kicked out of heaven, but God never stops hearing about the devil. And the reason why he never stops hearing about the devil is not because the devil goes up to heaven and say, hey, I'm still here. Do you know who brings the devil to God's attention? It is God's children. I always picture the devil standing there and he says, you know how important I am? They never stop talking about me. He says, no, I'm not going to call all these weak Christians. Look at their pastor. Come observe. And there I am. I'm going to pray. I stand up. Lord, the devil is after us. Protect us from the evil one. And the devil tells his people or his demons and says, see, I told you, I'm important. They can't. I keep them connected. They can't connect without me. I said to one church one day, try and do this. If you want short prayers, try and do this and say to people, let's not present any problems to God. Let's just have prayers of thanksgiving. Those are the shortest prayers you'll ever have. Simply because we have absolutely nothing to say to God once we've forgotten our problems. But look at the Lord's Prayer. Look at the Lord's Prayer. 3 requests. Give us our bread. Give us this day our bread. Give us this day our daily bread. Right? That's the first one. And by the way, it's not your bread, it's our bread. It's not your bread. You can't ask for bread and then receive bread and eat it alone. It's ours. You ask for it on our account. It was not given to you for you. It was given to you for us. You are a conduit of our bread. Don't eat it alone. That's why you're going to gain weight, because you are eating more bread than you should eat. Hello? So don't go there. Don't misrepresent. Don't mislead God. You go to God and you ask Him for our bread. He gives you our bread, then you consume the bread as if it's your own. Now we must beg you for our bread. And do you know what? Let me just say this. Let me give you a bit of a social gospel. Do you know why these kids kill us for sneakers? They rob you at knife point. Okay, maybe. But do you know why? Do you know why they'll stab you for takis, a pair of sneakers, cheap sneakers? Do you know why they'll stab you for a cheap? They don't understand why you must wear sneakers when they don't have bread. You are wearing expensive sneakers. Do you know why they kill you? They're angry at you. You took their money and you bought expensive sneakers instead of buying cheap sneakers and then buying them bread. So, that's the first one. Give us this day our daily bread. We're interceding. We've got problems. I'm not just bringing my needs, I'm bringing the needs of the community. And if you choose, Lord, that I be the conduit of these blessings, I be the conduit of the community's bread, then please let it be so. But it is our bread. I'm not, there's someone once said something beautiful. And they say that the streams in the mountains around Jerusalem, all right, the mountains, they bring water and they bring it down to the River Jordan, right? And the River Jordan passes the water and they bring it down to the Jordan River. The Jordan River carries the fresh water into the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea does not have an outlet, and that is why it's dead. As soon as it only remains fresh when it passes through. It dies when it remains with you. You are not the destination of the bread. You are a conduit of the bread. So when you pray, You're not praying to be the destination. You're not presenting yourself as the destination of God's blessings. You are presenting yourself as a conduit of God's blessings to the community. And that is why you don't approach him as I. You approach him as our representative. And that, by the way, that is the only material request in the whole prayer. It's the only material request in the whole, one line. That's it. It's done. After that, we get into the moral problems. Deliver us from temptation. Because that's what the problem is. When you bring the bread, in fact, hold on to the bread before you strengthen us against temptations. For we might even be tempted by the bread itself. Yes. So, as you deliver the blessings, strengthen us morally as well. And so when we're done, so I'll say to you, these are just the 3 lines. Those are the 3 lines of request. All right, the 3 lines. Those are the 3 lines that the request that have a request. 3 lines, and one of them is material. The other 2 are moral. Because that's the biggest problem. That's the biggest problem. That's the biggest problem. Your morality, your moral weakness. That's what you're presenting to God in your prayer. And that is why she would then say in the book of prayer, does anyone have steps to Christ? Do we have hard copies of Steps to Christ? You know, can you just bring a few copies for our visitors? Is that what you gave our visitors? Guys, please read A Privilege of Prayer, man. It is the most beautiful take on prayer that you will ever read. Just read it. Just read that. Then she will say that prayer is the opening up of the heart as a friend to a friend. That's what you're doing. You're just opening up your heart. That is where in prayer you are presenting your filthiest, your darkest secrets, the filthiest side of who you are. Prayer is not an opportunity to convince God of how righteous you are. Prayer is an opportunity to present yourself at your most unrighteous. And do you know why? Do you know why we approach God in prayer? And we approach Him unrepentant and we leave the presence of God unrepentant. It is because we don't present ourselves as we are. We always have to find a moral mask, a righteous mask that we put on to misrepresent ourselves before God. And so what prayer does, it changes the facade. It never changes the real you. No. And you wonder why you pray so much. I pray every day. But I've still got this problem. You know how clever we get? We don't call it a sin anymore. We call it a challenge. It's a challenge. You know, Pastor. And then you try and co-opt me. You know how we like to do that when you confess our sins. And then we try and co-opt the person listening to us and say, you know, almost we are human. We've all got challenges, you know, we are human, so I've got this challenge. And I prayed about it over and over again. And maybe the reason why you are still carrying that problem is because it is not you who has been praying about the problem. It has been what you think you should be when you approach God in prayer that has been praying about the problem. So there you are, this is the real you. But when you approach God, you then have this facade. And this is who prays over the problem, not the real you. Open your heart up to God when you pray. Don't lie to God about who you are. He already knows who you are. You can't hide anything from Him. So why must you hide anything from Him when you approach Him in prayer? Then, okay. So I must give you examples of this. All right. So I said to you, prayer is taking us up to the presence of God. Do you remember this guy Daniel? This is Daniel chapter 6 now. Do you remember Daniel? He gets appointed as an official over 120 satraps. Amongst his one of 3 officials over 120 satraps, and they're going to supervise these 120 guys to handle the affairs of Babylon. And then these other 2 guys and the 120 guys, 122 of them, then decide, you know what, we're going to have we're going to try and have not even try. They had a problem with Daniel, all right, because he excelled far above them. So they had a problem with his excellence, and they became black about it. They became black. You know, black people, when we see someone excellent and someone excelling and successful, we never want to investigate how they've succeeded. We don't want the formula behind their success. We can determine, we think it's something supernatural that is behind their success. I you know, when I grew up in a township, right? And we I know the guys from Zimbabwe might not necessarily be familiar with the township, but that's where like all the black people live. So we grew up in a township, and there was this house, man, but was tall. They had buses, they had butcheries. You know, it's a big thing back in the days. And you have you know, they had buses and butcheries and stuff. You know, and that man, you hardly ever saw Bob's at home. You hardly ever saw him at home. And he used to drive a Jaguar, all right? An old Jaguars. And we even created myths about his Jaguar that its tires expand when he's speeding. You know, he's trying to like, you know, just make him a myth. You know, he must be a legend. But so amongst the kids, he was a hero. But amongst the adults, he was something to be shunned. So you would talk to the adults and then say, no, actually, before you got rich, 3 kids disappeared. 3 kids disappeared. Never been found. Right? Those 3 kids have never been found. Oh, really? Yeah, they disappeared. So they've got this thing, so his success was a product of witchcraft. And you know why we do that? You know why we do that? You know why we say that? You know why we is it mystifying, yeah? People's success and making it a product of the supernatural. It is so that we can exonerate ourselves from hard work. We'll say, no, we're not. The reason why we're not successful is because we're not killing kids. Because success is killing kids. So we get comfortable in our mediocrity by demonizing people's success. So, oh yeah, that's how I got you. So these guys want to demonize Daniel's success and then say, you know what, instead of emulating his work ethic, they decide to find something against him. Alright, let's find something against him. So they look at his work, he was not corrupt, he had not taken any bribes, he had never been to any compounds. And so then they say, alright, let's find something against him and his God and see, you know, go read chapter 6 and see what happens. Now, then they discovered that Daniel went to his room and prayed 3 times a day. Alright, he prayed 3 times a day. Now remember, he didn't pray 3 times after he discovered that they wanted to get him out of work. That was his routine. So what they were using was his routine against him. Alright, so then Daniel was a victim of his consistency. So then they come to him, then they go to the king and say, oh king, may you live forever, alright, and blah 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 blah. And then the king, hey, please king, just have a decree for 30 days that nobody should pray to any other god except you. Alright, and the king agrees. He knows it's not a god, but he says, yeah, let's do it. And then he agrees, okay, we'll have a decree. Then Daniel obviously finds out about this. That, okay, I can't pray for 30 days because anyone who prays to any other god is going to die. So then Daniel, after finding out about this, then decides he's going to fast. He's going to pray 4 times now. He's going to increase the size of the amount of prayer. He's going to pray like 7 times. Wake up at 2 a.m. while everyone is sleeping because God can't hear when people are awake. And he's going to, no, he doesn't do that. Daniel leaves the king's chamber and he goes up to his room, opens the curtains, and he prays as he has always done, even after he'd heard about the problem. And I'd like to believe that when Daniel prayed 3 times a day, he did not pray about the problem that had surfaced as a result of his prayer life. He was not praying for God to deal with his problems. He was praying because that's what he was used to. But here's the funny thing, the funny science, right? It was only for 30 days. All Daniel had to do is not pray for 30 days. And he would not be thrown into the lion's den. Somehow, when Daniel calculates, right, he decides that it's actually more painful to not pray for 30 days than to be eaten by lions. Somehow for him, it's painful. 30 days! Without praying, it's not, and you wonder, what is it then, the question I asked, what is it that Daniel had discovered in prayer that he could not live without for 30 days? Surely it was not presenting problems to God. Surely it was not about gossiping about the devil to God. For 30 days, I like to believe that Daniel decided that, you know what, if I don't pray for 30 days, I'm as good as dead anyways. Better to die after having prayed than to die as a result of not praying. You know what? I'd like to believe that Daniel must have been afraid of what he was without prayer. He's afraid of the monster he might become without prayer. But most importantly, He's afraid of losing the ticket into God's presence for 30 days. So he says, you know what? I'd rather be eaten by lions. It's actually less painful to be eaten by lions than to live a life without visiting the presence of God for 30 days. So, let me die. Let me die for visiting the presence of God. And do you know what happens? Do you know what happens? And I'm not saying pray for this. Pray so that you don't get eaten by lions. Here's why the lions didn't eat Daniel. They didn't become vegetarian. When Daniel was vegetarian. Now I've heard a lot of preachers. Because Daniel was a vegetarian. When he entered, he changed. Yes. Anything, you know, and you know how I know that they were not vegetarian, right? The following day, when Daniel is thrown out, or taken out of the Bible says, and listen to this, guys, listen to this. I saw my son's book, it's got the story of Daniel. They've got about 2 lions with, 3, 4 lions with like funny little looking teeth there, and like you can see these things can't even growl, you know, like but like it's a misrepresentation of the story, because the Bible says the following day when Daniel was taken out, the 122 officials that had constructed this plan against Daniel and their families, so each of them and their wives, there's 244 people, plus their children. So we're talking about almost 300 people. Let's say 300 to be safe. All right, 300 people are thrown into the lion's den, and the Bible says not a single one of their feet touched the ground. The lions caught them mid-air. That's how many lions were in there. Each lion had someone to catch before they touched the ground. All right, or everyone had a lion to catch them before they touched the ground. But the Bible says the night before, the very lions that were eating these people, Daniel slept in a den full of lions. With this man. Now, so it wasn't 6 or 7 lions. It was hundreds of lions, all right, in that den. But the night before, Daniel slept in the pit. And the Bible says, exactly at the same time when Daniel was sleeping in the pit, the Bible says in the palace, on a king-size bed, with guards outside, and access to entertainment and soothing music, the king could not sleep. Why? Because peace is not my presence. Peace is not my location, rather, but peace was in the pit, because in the pit, that's where the presence of God was. Now, you think you're going to find peace when you change your location, not realizing that your location might be exactly where the presence is. And so, you are there in the pit of your despair, in the pit of your problems, and you're busy praying to occupy the king's bedroom, where there's no peace. Now, do you know why Daniel slept in the den that night? It is because while his body was in the den, he ascended into the presence of God in prayer. And when he descended into the pit, he descended in the presence of God. And the lions suspended their desire to eat. They went on a fast for that night, because they enjoyed the present that descended along with Daniel. And they decided, you know what, in the presence of God, let us also rest. Let's just rest with Daniel. They sought him and rest, and they emulated his rest, and they rested with him, because he was in a constant moment of prayer, in the presence of God. You see, prayer does not deprive the lions of their appetite. Prayer gives you peace, and in your peace, the lions find no reason to attack you when they observe your peace. But don't pray so that the lions don't eat you. Pray for yourself, not for the lions. I like how Daniel prayed. I like what he did. You know, for 30 days, it's only about that. He prayed as he had always done, because problems were not the glue that stuck him to God. They were not the glue that stuck him to God. And furthermore, in prayer takes me up. I'm giving you an illustration to this point. That prayer takes us up to the presence of God. A friend of mine, right, says he grew up in the rural areas of Wanongoma. Okay, this is like a staunch, authentic Zulu guy. Okay, so he grew up in the rural areas of Wanongoma. He's a pastor now in our church. He says, so they went one day. They used to have, I don't know what they call them, you know, in English, but we call them ETP, where they take the cows through. What are they? Yeah. dip. Yeah. so they dipped the cow, right? And so he says they went there with his twin brother. They went down to 50p, and that's where all the boys, like in the area, gather. Okay, and they gathered there at the dip, and they got into a fight with a group of boys. He says, on this day he wasn't there. Then these boys beat up his brother. Then his brother left and called him. Then he came, and they beat up these boys together with his brother. Then these boys went and called more boys, and they came and beat them up. But then on this side where they stayed, they said there were not a lot of boys. Okay, so then they went and called their uncle to come and help them beat up. Then he said, but his uncle did not come down 20p with them. He said to them, okay, I'll stand here, he'll stand on the hill, and he'll say, go down 20p. Your 20p in call. They couldn't understand. I mean, we hold you to help us with the problem down there. Why are you staying there? All right. So they'll go, he said they'll go there, they'll go there. He says he didn't understand. He thought, he was seriously concerned. He thought, my uncle must be a coward. To not go down there. So he says they will go down, and along the way they'll pick up sticks and go and prepare to meet those boys at the P. And he says he didn't understand why his uncle would stand on the side of the hill. Until one day, he decided to stand where his uncle stood. All right. So as his brother went down 20p, he stood there. And then he understood why his uncle was standing. You see, from the side of the hill, his uncle could see the enemy approaching. He could see the enemy while the enemy was still far away. He had a view, a 360-degree view from the side of the hill. You see, do you know why he was unhappy with his uncle? It is because he lacked his uncle's perspective. Prayer is not bringing God down to 80p. Prayer takes you up to occupy the hill where God stands, to observe your life. Prayer does not make God fight your enemies. Prayer gives you God's perspective about the destination, about the condition, or the distance between you and your enemies. So prayer is not about God sending God to your wars. Prayer is about you taking on God's perspective. So this lady stands outside Mom Keys. She's standing on her window. She's looking at Mandobo's kitchen. And every time she talks to Mom Keys, and she says to me, hey, Ma, I wonder why she never washes her curtains. It's all they're filthy. I understand what kind of woman this is. And Kiza would say, and he'll walk out. Every day she'd complain, she still has not washed her curtains. Can you believe it? Oh my goodness. And then Kiza would go, and he'd walk out. And the following week, she'll complain, this is the third week. Those curtains are still dirty. They're still filthy. I don't understand why she has not washed her curtains. In case it goes, The next time, she looks out the window. The one thing that she's been complaining about, when it happens, she's not happy again. She's, oh, she's finally washed her curtains. And for the first time in weeks, Nkiza comments on the situation. And he says, no, I washed our windows. You see, prayer. Without prayer, your perception of life is messed up. You're unable to see your life as you should. Prayer is God's divine cloth and wiping your perspective so that you're able to see life for what it really is. At times the problem is not the life, it's not what lies outside of you, it's not what surrounds you. At times the problem is the eyes you see to look at life. Now, let me go to Luke 23, okay? So this guy is hanging on the cross with Christ. And the Bible says there were two thieves, one on the left, one on the right, and Christ was in the middle. And the two thieves are saying, one of them says, if you're Jesus, you're the Christ, and you've been sent by God, save yourself and save us also. All right? And that's how our prayers are sometimes constructed. Our prayers sort of follow the same pattern. And I don't know how many times I've heard people pray, even in church. I grew up hearing my grandmother pray like this. And then I heard my mother praying like this. And they'll say, Lord, don't allow your name to be taken in vain. Show up and show off. Show them fire. Show them. Do not let your children become a joke amongst the heathens. All right. And so we co-opt God by tempting him somehow we're thinking we are appealing to his ego. God has no ego. We are appealing to his ego. Show off, show up, show off, show them. Don't allow us to be a joke. As if he's got a problem with you being a joke. Like, show up, show off. Don't allow us to be a and that's exactly the same pattern of prayer this guy was praying. He was saying, you know what, if you're the Christ, show us how powerful you are. Save yourself. And then save us also. In the middle there. Save us also. Save us. Just to show these monkeys how powerful you are. And then Jesus doesn't answer that prayer. That's the prayer that seeks to appeal to God's ego is the prayer that will go unanswered. And listen to the guy on the right. I will say he's on the right. And this guy turns around and he says to him, but have you no fear of God? For you suffer justly for what you're going through. You deserve to be going what you're going through. And I believe, you know what? I mean, in hindsight, when I listened to this conversation, I listened to this dialogue, I think this guy was actually in a very sort of advanced way, actually telling the guy that, you know what, your biggest problem is not the cross. Your biggest problem are your actions that landed you on the cross. Instead of praying for the cross to be taken away, pray for the problems in your character which have led you to the cross. Do you know why that prayer was not answered? Do you know why the prayer to be saved was not answered? Because he would have been taken down from the cross and he would have gone and worked his way back to the cross again. And I always say to people, especially people dealing with debt, when you're praying for more money to deal, you think you need more money to pay off your debt. You don't need money to pay off your debt. You need the ability to manage the money that you have. You don't get into debt because you don't have money. The reason why you got into debt is because you got money. People who don't have money don't start debts. Debts are for people with money. So the problem is not that you don't have money. The problem is that you can't manage money. But when you pray for your debts, you don't pray for the real problem. You pray for the symptoms of the problem. Your problem is not that you don't have money. You lack the ability to manage money. So when you pray, don't pray for the debts. Pray for the ability to manage. Pray for management. So this guy says, have you no fear of God? You're praying for the cross. The cross is not the problem. The cross is an outcome of the problem. The problem is you can't make good choices. So in prayer, do not present the cross that you have landed yourself on. In prayer, present how you landed yourself on the cross. The character flaws that landed you on your crosses. It's not that you are dumped. It's not that he cheated on you. That's the problem. The problem is, what makes you attracted to boys that cheat? Alright. And at times, again, let me say this. At times, when we pray as a means of running away from taking responsibility for our actions. Prayer becomes a moment where we absolve ourselves of the responsibility. Everything that happens to you, there is something that you did which landed you in that situation. So you can't change what they did, but you can change how you allow them to do what they did in your life. So what is it that draws you to those kinds of people that you can change? In prayer that you should present. Don't present to God a broken heart. Present to God the choice that led to the broken heart. What is it that you look for that only lands you with heartbreakers? And I said to boys, you know, like when I talk to men, I said to them, you know, you go and you ask a beautiful girl out, you ask her, you found her beautiful. And then you don't want other guys to find her beautiful. You have not married her. Now you want to ring fence her. Witchcraft. Alright. Alright. So, when you presented yourself to her, you are a choice. You are a good choice at the time when you presented yourself to her. As time passed, which is why you're dating, so that you get to know each other. As time passed, she got to know you, and you're not necessarily the best choice you could ever make. And a better choice comes. Alright. And she makes the choice. Alright, a better choice. So when you pray, don't pray for her to not succeed and whatever. And I promise you, and like I said to you the other day, I've had people make better choices than me. All right. That's how I say it. I've had people who make better choices than me. And I know the anger and the bitterness of seeing them progress and you see them happy and you see their lives. And I they should pay again. I know something small, like when they appear, their heel breaks, or something. I don't know. Just when you see them, you know. And when you pray, you don't pray for God to help you heal. You also pray, you know, vengefully. God, make my path upward. Let me grow. Let me grow so that they can see. Look, man, your prayer life can't be constructed around an external problem. What you see if you are heartbroken because someone you love left you. If you are heartbroken because someone you love left you, when you pray, don't pray to heal from the heartbreak. That's not the problem. That's the outcome of the problem. Your real problem is that you have possessive love. You have not learned how to love. The reason why you're not happy about the fact that they left you is because in your love, you are trying to possess them. So don't pray to heal from the heartbreak. Pray for God to give you unconditional love. A love that does not possess. Because a love that is unconditional does not have a problem when it is left. And George Knight, let me share this with you. George Knight writes a very beautiful in the book Outrageous Grace. He's got this beautiful chapter, and I mean, it's a passage that I underlined it, and he says, divine love, human love, no love is love unless it allows the one it loves the opportunity to say no to that love. Divine love or human love, no love is love unless it allows the one it loves the opportunity to say no to it. You see, if your love cannot allow the person you love to say no to it, then it is either an addiction or it is slavery. Real love must open an opportunity for someone to leave it behind. So when you pray, don't pray for the heartbreak. That's the outcome. The biggest problem is that you are possessive. That's what you should present in prayer. Open your heart up to God as a friend to a friend. What is it that hurts you so much about being left? What inadequacy in you makes you feel like less of a human being when people leave you? That is what you should be presenting before God. That inadequacy that seeks to be fulfilled by people loving you. What is it? What shortcoming do you have in your character that you should be presenting in prayer? And so this guy says, you know what? You suffer justly for being here. So stop presenting the outcomes of your problems. Present the source of your problems. You make bad choices. And then he turns around and says, Jesus, remember me. That's the problem. Remember me. Actually, allow me to die on the cross. It's fine. I deserve to be here. But remember me. The problem is not the cross. The problem is me. Deal with me. And that's where the challenge is. That's where the real problem is. I'm not concerned. I'm aware of why I'm suffering. And how is that for self-awareness? I'm aware of why I'm suffering. It's a flaw in my character. I deserve. In fact, the Bible says, doesn't even give us their names. It says they are two thieves. It says, do you know what the guy had achieved? You know, he died on the cross. And he was right next to Christ. He died right next to Christ. And Christ could deliver him from the cross. And he died there. And I believe he died in peace. He was at peace when he died. Do you know why he was at peace when he died? Because in prayer, he learned to accept the will of God. Even if the will meant he had to go through what he didn't want to go through. But he was okay with going through with it because it was the will of God. Do you remember when Christ goes into the Mount of Olives and he goes to pray? The Bible says, he says, Father, take this cup before me. And do you know how I know that prayer was answered? You know how I know the prayer was answered? And then you say, but that prayer wasn't answered, he still got crucified. No, the prayer was answered. And that is why he got crucified, because the prayer was answered. The prayer was not about the cup being taken away from him. The prayer was about him accepting the will of God. Right there in the prayer, he discovers the will of God. And that's what makes him okay with the crucifixion. He accepts the cup because in prayer he accepted the will. He discovered the will. Prayer is not an opportunity to change God's mind about your life. Prayer is about you understanding the mind of God concerning your life. When you ascend in prayer, you are supposed to descend with a better understanding of why you're going through what you're going through. Amen. And so someone says, no, but we've got prayer warriors. We've got a serious problem with prayer warriors. Because Now, don't get me wrong. It's okay to be a warrior, whatever that means, of prayer. And you're supposed to pray. But I've got a problem with glorifying people who pray for praise. And that's a serious challenge. And again, I was up there yesterday. I went to Pick and Pay after the service. Someone found me. Pretty crazy. Someone found me, and I think I was about to I wasn't going to go there anyways. So I went to Pick and Pay and I went to buy a few things, right? And as I come out, there are these two guys. He comes to me and he says, "Hey, good man, yeah, in the good man age, blind. I can't do my song and your good man." But this guy's not extravagant in his request. He just wants bread. That's it, just bread. There I am with my, juiced up and bushy things, and I'm about to get. And this guy all the guy wants is just bread. He says, "Hey, good man, just do my song." And he got me, he got me. I'm like, wow, he just wants bread. So I went to the car and I got the money and I gave it to him. The guy almost cried, he almost cried. He's like, "Oh, good man, he goes. He never walked away and called one of his friends and said, I asked that guy for bread, man. Look how much he gave me. You know why? Because I begged him. Begged him. And then it'll be strange for me to go there again today and find other guys around him saying, "Can you go and beg for us?" Because when you beg, they give you better when you beg. So beg for us. We're asking you to beg on our behalf. So we're going to give up our right to beg. We've got access to these people. They walk around us, but no, we want you to beg. Because one time you begged, and they gave you big money, so we want you to beg for us. You're a beggar warrior. Do you understand the point? Do you understand what I'm saying? All right. So it's illogical. It doesn't make sense. Why would have this? Some people say they're prayer warriors and they're going to wrestle with God. Of course, taking it from Genesis chapter 32, the wrestling match between Jacob and the angel. But here's what they miss fundamentally. When Jacob stayed behind that night, his biggest problem was Esau. In the morning, after wrestling with the angel, or after wrestling with God the whole night, in the morning, Esau did not die. His intention for remaining behind was so that he can convince God to deal with Esau on his behalf. In the morning, Esau has not died. But the only thing that changed in the morning, there's only one thing that changed. It did not happen in Esau's life. It happened in the prayer warrior's life. It happened in Jacob's life. He did not get Esau killed. He got a new name. And that's it. Prayer does not change your problems. Prayer transforms you. If you're a prayer warrior, then we must see the difference happening in your life, not in other people's lives. If you must intercede, you don't intercede because God hears you better than us. You intercede so that you can overcome your selfish inclinations in prayer. Do you know why we have intercessory prayer? Do you know why we have intercessory prayer? It is so that while we are praying, we don't become selfish. We are in the process of praying for others. We lose our ability to be selfish. That's why we intercede. We don't intercede because we're stronger in faith. We actually intercede because we are the weakest amongst the faithful. And so when we pray, we learn to put others before us. We intercede. We stand in the gap. Not because we are closer to God than everyone else, but simply because we're the furthest from God. And as we put others before us, God draws closer to us. As we put others before us, God draws closer to us in intercessory prayer. Stop thinking that you're an intercessor simply because God thinks you're more powerful and you pray louder than Him. What is it about your prayer that makes God hear you better than everyone else? You've got direct access to God yourself. You don't need anyone. You don't need blaster. Now I always hear people saying, okay, I haven't heard it yet, so don't start it. People shake your hand and say, I'm just taking blessings. I'm taking blessings. There are no blessings here. Zero blessing. Do you know where that comes from? Do you know where that comes from? It comes from our indigenous backgrounds, where we think that ritual leaders are the ones that tend to be more spiritually gifted than everyone else. I'm not Inyanga, I'm a pastor. Alright, let's get that clear. I'm a pastor. I've not been imbued with superpowers to deal with your problems. The power is not in the prayer. The power is in the one to whom we pray. So when the prayer has been answered, the power does not go to the structure of the prayer. You are poetic when you pray, therefore God hears you better. No, the praise goes up to the one who answered the prayer. People say prayer is powerful. There's nothing powerful about prayer. What is powerful is who the prayer takes us to. That's the one who is powerful. Prayer is just a transport that takes us into the presence of God. And I ask myself the question, why is it so easy for you to not pray? Why is it so easy for you to miss prayer? In fact, I'd say, when you feel guilty about not praying, then you're not discovered the real joy of prayer. You're not supposed to feel guilty about praying, about not praying. Have you ever missed a call from someone you love? Have you ever missed a call from someone you love? Do you know the heartbreak? Especially when you've got no airtime to return the call. Do you know the heartbreak? You feel like, when are they going to call again? And every 5 minutes you look at your call, Tell me, do you feel guilty when you miss that call? The guilt is the last thing on your mind when you miss a call from a loved one. Guilt is the last thing. The only thing you feel like is, I've missed out. On this phone call, I've missed out. On this phone call. And that's why you don't feel guilt when you've discovered the real joy of prayer. Guilt is the last thing on your mind when you've missed the opportunity to pray. When you miss the opportunity to pray, you should feel like you've missed out. You've missed an opportunity to visit the presence of God. When am I going to do it again? And do you know what happens as you enjoy being in the presence of God? You stop using prayer as a bandage, a shield against problems. And so that's why you pray on your way out. Say, hey Lord, way out, please be with me. You know, sometimes I think we've got a bit of dissonance here. We wish we could have something as quick as this sun, so that we say we pray, but we don't have it. And so we say, I'm leaving. and then you're out of there. You don't because prayer for you is not an opportunity to be in the presence of God. Prayer acts like and I'm going to use this word, prayer acts like a condom for you. It's just to protect you from outside diseases. That's it. So for you to be not infected. So that's why you pray. So at least before I leave, let me just put this protection on, this raincoat on before I get rained on. But it's not really an opportunity to be in the presence of God. And so that's why. So when you learn to discover the real joy of prayer, you don't squeeze it in, but you squeeze everything in around your prayer life. And so then Paul would say, pray without ceasing. Pray without ceasing. Visit the presence of God without ceasing. Not because you need to make constant supplications to God. You already know what you're going through before you even ask Him. You pray so that you learn to connect with God. Let me say this in closing. I'm going to say, see, I've got my Bible under my arm. Okay. Let me say this before I say. You see, prayer is a rehearsal for what will happen in eternity. I think we always like to say that's what will happen in heaven. Heaven is not the destination. We're coming back. And we're going to spend eternity here. All right? Not in heaven. So even those who died go to heaven. They're not in paradise. Yeah, we're coming here. They're coming back here so they can go to heaven. So when we get into eternity, all right, there will be no problem, right? There will be no sin. Okay, so prayer is a rehearsal for you to learn to communicate with God without presenting problems. So in prayer, you learn temporarily, in temporal, bits of time to talk to God without problems. That's what you learn, so that you don't spend time with God and you have those awkward silences. And so, the son, you made that with your voice. It's going to be awkward for eternity. You've got God for eternity, and you can't say anything to Him because the one thing that was connecting you to Him, He has destroyed. So how are you going to communicate with Him? So then you need to find a way of communicating with God without problem. It's like friends who gossip together, you know. Once people stop giving you gossip, like giving you access to their lives, then you've got nothing to talk about. Because people have seized, have ended this thing that keeps you together. So then you're sitting there, you've got nothing to gossip about. And all you can say, you realize there was no friendship after all. Because all that brought you together was gossiping. And so there you are with God, your gossip buddy. You can't say a thing to him. Because the one thing you used to gossip about is God. So prayer is teaching you to learn to relate to God for eternity without mentioning your problems. Hey, there you are. How are you doing? Oh yeah, I'm great. Then you talk. You learn to talk to God. You learn to talk to God. Yeah, you're not afraid because you've been talking honestly with him since you are on this side of heaven. You say to him, but you know what, I think this whole thing is boring. Yes, I'm just bored. I'm bored here. Because you're used to that, you can say that. Not feel like you're offending God, you're bored. He says, oh, what's bothering you? Let me give you this. And because you're used to being honest with God. Tomorrow, I'll start with something else and then we'll finish off with faith. And so may God bless you as you find a way of communicating with Him, talking to Him. May God bless you as you use this ticket into His presence. And I'm going to pray with someone tonight and just for God to help us. I don't know, man. I want to be able to just approach God and not mention problems. Talk to God, just not mention problems. And just for God to make me conscious and aware of my flaws. So I need to deal with me, man. There's just a lot of stuff that He needs to deal with when I pray. So if you want to be able to pray and say, God, just help me stop gossiping. Not about other people, that's great level. That you need to stop. You need to pray about it. That just need to stop. Just stop it. But there's this gossiping that you do. Go to God and talk about the devil. You want to be able to pray and talk to God and just communicate with Him as a friend, to a friend. I'm going to ask you to stand as we That's correct. So once again, we're very thankful for this time that you have afforded us. We're so grateful for stealing us away for these weeks of the Lord, for the next 2 weeks, just to talk to us, fashion us anew. And we ask of your Father now that as we have, studied and read about this topic and subject of prayer, that you may transform our prayer lives. We don't want to be gossipers about the devil. We want to be authentic Christians that learn and are able to communicate with you, even when the devil doesn't give us reason to solicit your presence and to solicit your ear. We want to be able to just talk to you and bask in the glory of your presence. We want it to be painful for us to say amen at the end of every prayer. We want it to be possible for us to pray to you even in the most peaceful times of our lives. And so we ask of your Father that you make your presence more pronounced when we are in prayer. Help us to discover the joy of talking to you in prayer. We ask, Lord, that you continue to be with us and be with these meetings, continue to work on our hearts. Break down, dear Father, any resistance that we may have. Break down any unteachable spirits that we may have. And allow us, dear Father, to allow you to change us, make us anew. So we ask, dear Father, especially whether as we leave, may nothing distract us from tonight's message as we're going to go to our rooms and pray in secret, dear Father, to you. Help us, dear Lord, to not pray selfishly and egocentrically. Help us, dear Father, to remember our communities, the communities where we come from, the communities that we live with, the communities that we worship with, dear Father, as we pray. Not because of your Lord, we are the strongest amongst them, but in fact, dear Father, so that in presenting them before you, you can draw closer to